Alright, so the Disciples of Christ version of the Bible is the first version of the Bible ever to be produced using the principle of sound doctrine. So, why is sound doctrine important? Well, Jesus and the apostles teach us as believers to follow sound doctrine so that we're not led astray by false doctrine or doctrine that is better than true. For example, uh, you hear someone saying, you don't have to work, God will do everything for you. Well, the Bible suggests that we as Christians, we maintain a certain level of work ethic, and that is the fourth commandment, uh, if you take a look at it. And so, understanding, right, these false teachings, right, when you're teaching your kids or people you love sound doctrine, right, they'll be able to hold up the shield of sound doctrine and say, no, that doesn't make any sense, right? God tells me to work, but then he's gonna do it all for me. It doesn't really make sense. So, sound doctrine is very beneficial for people you love, while false doctrine sometimes, it may sound good, but it's a little better than true. So, a promise of the Christ we see found in Luke 21:15, the King James version of the Bible, is, "For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all of your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist." And so, understanding, right, if you teach the people you love sound doctrine, they'll hear a pastor preaching and they'll say, what he's saying is incorrect or it doesn't make any sense. And right, maybe that will alert them to maybe they're teaching something a little better than is true, right? And so, sound doctrine is very, very beneficial for our lives as Christians. It creates strong, healthy, godly people, right? A powerful nation, which is what the Israelites were originally. So it's very, very important to hold on to sound doctrine as you go through your life. Even though, a big part of being Christian is, right, doing unto others and sort of having that next world level of love. And so, understanding this is important. So, sound doctrine obliterates false doctrine. And so, here are some of the apostles stating that we as Christians should follow sound doctrine. Jesus Christ's ministry, it's totally 100% based off sound doctrine. So, here's Titus 2:1. "But as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine." Here is the prophet Job 11:4. "You have said, my doctrine is sound, I am pure in your sight." Here is Solomon in Proverbs 4:2. "I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching." And so this method, right, it gets important when you're translating from ancient Greek or Hebrew into English. So let's go through the principle of sound doctrine and why it's important. So let's jump into this. As a reader, it is important to understand that while translating any interpretation of the Bible, a single word in ancient Greek or Hebrew can be translated into a few words in English, not just one. As an example of this, let's say that the ancient Greek word peirazo could potentially be translated into English as only one of four different words: test, try, tempt, or prove. However, by using the principle of sound doctrine, we can reduce the total potential number of words. Any word in ancient Hebrew or Greek can be translated into English down from 4 to 2, and even sometimes just a single word, thereby drastically increasing the accuracy of the translation and reducing contradictions. Now, these contradictions, most of them, by applying the principle of sound doctrine, we as authors can resolve them. And so this will create a drastically more accurate version of the Bible. It's very, very important to understand that. So for example, let's take a look at Matthew 4:7, English Standard Version. "You shall not put the Lord your God to the test." However, in 1 John 4:1, English Standard Version, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits." So in Matthew 4:7, the author is stating, "You shall not put the Lord your God to the test." But in 1 John 4:1, they're stating, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test," right? So they say, don't test, and then they say, do test, right? So This is just stemming from the authors. It's an author error, right? They didn't take the time to translate it in a way that wouldn't create a contradiction. So while this is a minor contradiction, right, as we'll be showing, there are also major contradictions out there, and some of those are pretty shocking when you apply the principle of sound doctrine to. So let's keep going. However, by using the principle of sound doctrine, we can resolve this contradiction. Matthew 4:7, disciples of Christ. You shall not tempt the Lord your God. 1 John 4:1, disciples of Christ. My beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test whether the spirits are of God. So here we have resolved the contradiction by applying the principle of sound doctrine, and it's you shall not tempt God, but you do want to test the spirits to make sure they're of God, right? And so, is there further supporting evidence? And yes, there is. In Judges 6:39, the New King James Version of the Bible, then Gideon said to God, do not be angry with me, but let me speak just once more, and let me test, I pray, just once more with the fleece. Let it now be dry, and only on the fleece, but on all the ground let there be dew. And so in Judges 6:39, we see the prophet Gideon testing God to make sure that it is God. God is instructing Gideon to go to war. And so Gideon tests God a couple times to make sure that it's God telling him to do what he is to do. And then God proves himself to Gideon and says, sure, it's a big request. So this principle, again, right, and holding to sound doctrine is very important. It's very beneficial to your life and the lives of those you love. So if you're looking for which version of the Bible you want to put in the hands of your children, right, so that they grow into proper, strong Christians, right, you should definitely get a version of the Bible that is based on sound doctrine.